Om सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय। So the text is SadDarshanam, written by Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. Why we have to choose mute madabekku shabda? Why I have chosen this text? Because this is for my anusandhanam. Kena Upanishad was for you all. You all did Chaturmasyam by going through Kena Upanishad. SadDarshanam is my Chaturmasyam. The text is only for me. So why I choose this? Because I have to study, I have to contemplate. So in case in future, if any one of you says that please take SadDarshanam, I can't do twice. So I thought, okay, let it be for myself and also for you. Every day we have told, means I am told that we have to do one verse contemplation. Adu nam vidhina ide. Before sleeping, one Upanishad or one Sutra or Gita shloka with some bhashyam, or we have to contemplate, know the meaning, and then go to sleep, so that the sleep is comfortable. So there won't be any disturbed sleep. So why night time? Because after SadDarshanam, it will be a very nice sleep. Anyways, coming to the topic, we have less time. This is Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's text. Upadesha Sara is, we have already seen. This is an advanced text. This text is equal to Mandukya Upanishad. There is no doubt about that. This is a Manana and Nididhyasana Grantha. It is not a Shravana textbook at all. So the one who has done sufficient Shravanam on few Prakarana Granthas, which we have already done, and few Upanishads, which we have already done. Few means only two, that holds good. Few means at least 5 to 6 Upanishads. And then when we approach this text, it can help us in proper understanding. Or else this is like huge bomb. I am not exaggerating, we will see that. But it is worth contemplating. SadDarshanam. Initially, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi wrote this in Tamil language, called as Ulladu Narpadu. Ulladu means truth. Narpadu means 40 shlokas, in 40. So there are no 40 truths. Ulladu Narpadu means 40 truths are there. One truth in 40 verses. One truth in 40 verses. Ulladu Narpadu. In the Moola Tamil book, 44 shlokas are there. In the Moola Tamil book, it is 44 shlokas. I think no, 40, correct. In the Moola, it is 40. But when Vasishtha Ganapati Muni translated into Sanskritam, it is 44. That is why Ulladu Narpadu is there in Tamil. 40 verses on reality. 40 verses on reality. When he translated, it became 44. I usually make a kind of a joke. Usually with Amba, I made this joke. Because Tamil letters, there are many. Sorry, Sanskrit letters are many. Tamil letters are less. So, something like that. 44 in Tamil, Sanskrit, 40 in Tamil. Anyways, Ulladu Narpadu. Sad means reality, or Sad means truth. Darshanam means a realization of the truth. or Darshana means knowledge of the truth. Nothing but self-knowledge or Brahma Vidya. And Brahma Vidya, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi beautifully expounds in 40 or 44 shlokas. First shloka we will see. I will chant. Ashirvad here will repeat. You can also mentally repeat that. Satpratyaya kinnu vihaya santam. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜೋರಾಗಿ. ಹೃದ್ಯೇಶ ಚಿಂತಾ ರಹಿತೋ ಹೃದಾಖ್ಯಃ ಕಥಂ ಸ್ಮರಾಮಸ್ತಮಮೇಯಮೇಕಂ ತಸ್ಯ ಸ್ಮೃತಿಃ ತತ್ರ ದೃಢೈವ ನಿಷ್ಠಾ. Very nice way. Chanting itself will take us to somewhere else if you know the meaning. Meaning is very tough. Anyways, what he says, before he says, I'll give you the introduction. He is talking about the truth. So this is a mangala shloka. First shloka and second shloka happens to be a mangala shloka, a prayer verse. And there are three kinds of mangala shloka. Three kinds of mangala shlokas. The first one is, means generally, what is the first mangala shloka? Ashirvada Rupa Mangala Shloka. Not the Ashirvad who is next to me. Ashirvada Rupa Mangala Shloka. Ashirvadaha means blessings. Blessings might be to the world, giving blessings to the world, or to the humanity, or to an individual. Ashirvada Rupa Mangala Shloka. That is one way of addressing. Second is Bhagavat Namaskara Rupa Mangala Shloka. Offering prayers to the Lord. Bhagavat Namaskara Rupa Mangala Shloka. Because in our tradition, any sad vicharaha or sat karma or sat karma when we do, we don't just start like that. We invoke the presence or the blessings of the Lord and then we start. So you see almost all the Vedantic works, or not even Vedantic, any work they start, the first page after the introduction or preface dedicated to, or usually they are dedicated to parents, or dedicated to my Ishta Devata, or dedicated to my Guru, and they write the Guru's name or a shloka of the Guru or Devata. That is also there. That is the second, Bhagavad Namaskara Rupa Mangala Shloka. And the third is Vastu Nirdesha Rupa Mangala Shloka. Vastu Nirdesha Rupa Mangala Shloka. What does that mean? Vastu Nirdesha means a statement of truth. Vastuhu means truth here. Vastu means doesn't mean an object. Vastuhu means a truth or a fact. Statement of a fact. What is the fact here in Vedanta? Brahman or the consciousness is the truth. That is the fact. So glorifying that will be also a part of Mangala Shloka. And Ramana Maharshi, in both these two shlokas, first and second, takes the third Vastu Nirdesha Rupa Mangala Shloka and discusses SadDarshanam. It is not the first Ashirvadaha or Bhagavat Namaskaraha, but it is the third. And what he wants to convey us, he says, because we are all Vedanta students, we know what consciousness, Brahman, everything is. So I directly start without giving any further introduction. Every object in creation, including creation, has to or should presuppose something different from the object. Every object in the creation, including the creation, should presuppose something else apart from the object. Do we agree? Yes, we have to agree. Because when there is a pen here, the very fact that I am telling pen should presuppose something else to have the status of pen. Pen Namarupa is there, fine. Pen as name and form, we all know. But it always should presuppose something else to have the status of pen. What is that? That is Sat. That is Sat in English, easiness of the object. Easiness of the object. Pen is, remote is, mobile is, table is. Never forget this. Many people will say, who are you? I am consciousness. If I say something else apart from consciousness, they don't know how to answer. This is the mistake we always commit. Sat is always there. Sat is there in animate or inanimate. We should never forget. But Sat takes the name of something else as consciousness, depending upon the medium which we are referring to. So here, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says, any object should presuppose something else. That is Sat. See there. Santam, first line, last word. Santam. Santam is nothing but sun. It is derived from the Dhatu word called sun. Sun means santam, existence. Existence principle is called as santam. And in this pen, where is existence? If you ask, or if I have to ask you, in this pen, where is existence? It is in and through the pen. It is not only at the front or at the center or at the back. In and through the pen, existence is to be called as pen. In the cap also existence is there. In the color also existence is there. In the tip or in the bottom also existence is there. So he says, vihaya, without the pervasion of existence, the sat of the object cannot be there. Vihaya means without the permission or permeation or pervasion, whatever you have to call. Without the permeation of akhanda sat, the object pen cannot exist. Pen, if I have to say, naturally means what? Pen is, that easiness should be there. Apply this to all the objects. Shirt is, Rudraksham is, necklace is. Don't take it for granted. We take it for granted and forget this. Without the Sat Akhandakara Vastuhu, none of the objects cannot be there. So Sat has to presuppose any object. Vihaya means without the permeation of Sat, none of the objects can exist. Vihaya. Sat Pratyaya. How does this pen is coming to be known as pen? Because Pratyaya means cognition. There is one more existence here. Sat Pratyaya. This Sat Pratyaya is called experience of an object. Sat Pratyaya is equal to experience of an object. Because as pen, it exists. Pen is. But when you have to say pen is giving me an experience of what? Pen is giving experience of Namarupa, agreed. Because pen means Namarupa. Pen is also giving the experience of Sat. That never forget. Pen is also giving the experience of Sat. We think or we conclude pen means Namarupa Matra and our eyes goes on nama rupa. That is name and form of pen, name and form of a table, name and form of a shirt. But in and through all this name and form, there is Sat always there. Without this Sat being, I cannot have the cognition. The eternal Sat as Vihaya Santam, without the permeation of Akandakara Sat, undivided Sat, I cannot have the cognition of Sat Pratyaya. Sat Pratyaya means I cannot have the experience of this pen without the permeation of the Sat, the very existent itself. Are you getting? This happens to be Mangala shloka. We have not started the text. Introduction. This happens to be the Mangala shloka. Okay. This we call in Upanishads as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. We know this vakyam in Upanishads. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Vedanitam Guhayam Paramevyo Man Soshtute Sarvan Kaman Saha. I am not supposed to quote anything. That is, there is also one rule. When we do Nididhyasanam or when we do Mananam, there is a rule in the Shastra. When we do Anusandhanam, nothing has to be else should come. That is what Sanyasis they say. The text and its meaning. You should have the knowledge of other scriptures, but we should not quote. Anyways, naturally that Vasana comes. What was I telling? Sat Pratyaya. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. This statement is there. In Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, the first line talks about Sat. See how the Upanishadic mantra is encapsulated in this first shloka. Satyam is Sat Pratyaya Kinnu Vihaya Santam. Without the permeation of the Sat, I cannot have the cognition of the pen. Done. Agreed? Now, Satyam Brahma is over. Come to the next line. Satyam Jnanam Brahma is the second line. What does he say? When existence which permeates all the objects in this, when existence permeates the pen and all the objects in the creation, including creation, existence has to permeate me also. Agreed? Existence, I repeat, existence which permeates all the objects here with respect to pen and also including creation, existence should permeate in me also. Existence which is permeating in the object is called as object. Existence which is permeating in and through all the objects is called object. Because this is an object and I have to call this as a pen as an object. Existence which permeates in me have to be called as subject. Existence in object is called object. Existence in me has to be called as subject. So every presence and every existence of me reveals what? Every presence or every experience, every experience of me reveals what? Existence. This existence which is in the object, this existence which is in me the subject, in what form it is there? It cannot be in the form of existence itself, because existence has already taken the name of existence with respect to an object. With respect to me, in what form it is there? He says, Eshaha Hridi. Second line. Eshaha Hridi. Where it is available? In Hrit. Hrit means, don't say heart. Heart is also fine. Mind. This existence, which is available in all the objects, is there also in me, the subject, as where or available where? In the mind. It is available in the mind. In the mind, it is available as what form? As consciousness. Hridi Akhyaha. Akhyaha is the name for consciousness. Hridi Akhyaha. This Akhyaha has the other name called as Sakshi Chaitanyam. Called as Sakshi Chaitanyam. The existence which is available in the object goes with the name of existence. With respect to subject, me, it is available in my heart or the mind. It is called as Hridi Akhyaha, as Sakshi Chaitanyam, the witnessing principle. This witnessing principle or Sakshi, otherwise called as consciousness principle. Yawning started. Yawning is, don't worry. Yawning is. Never forget this. Now, in mind is this consciousness. Agreed? In mind, the consciousness is getting enlivened. In object, consciousness is getting enlivened as Sat. Sat, not consciousness. Ide mistake madam now. 20 years of Vedanta study, neevantalla. Ellaru ide mistake madam. Consciousness in mind, it is enlivened as consciousness. Outside, it goes back as Sat. Now, in mind, there are innumerable thoughts. Kelbeka? Bah, helade beda. In mind, there are innumerable thoughts. This existence, which is consciousness in the mind, should pervade all the thoughts. So the thoughts, consciousness should be there in all the thoughts. Just as existing in and through all the objects, in the mind, so many thoughts, in and through all the thoughts, consciousness as Sakshi Chaitanyam, the witnessing principle, should also be there. So, consciousness associated with a particular thought will give rise to a particular experience. Agreed? So, consciousness associated with what thought will give rise to what experience. Consciousness associated with man thought will give rise to man experience. Woman thought, woman experiences. Consciousness associated with hela chakra thought. Yenona chakra experience. Saku. But Ramana Maharshi, we should not bring him down with all these words. So anything which is associated with consciousness, it has an experience of that particular object. Now, 5 features of consciousness we know. Now apply the same principle here with respect to thought. See how beautiful it will come. Consciousness is not a part, product, property of the body. Heltidve. Ivaga consciousness is not the part, product, property of the thought. You see the magnitude. Consciousness is not the part, product, property of the thought. Consciousness is an independent entity which pervades the thought and enlivens each and every thought which I have. Consciousness is an independent entity which enlivens and entertains every thought, whichever thought you want to call. Ordinary, extraordinary, divine, bliss, that, this, everything you call. It has to pervade every thought. Third point. Consciousness is not limited by the boundaries of the thought. When it becomes body, you can accept. When it becomes thought, it is tough. Consciousness is not limited by the boundaries of a thought. Consciousness continues to exist even after the end of a particular thought. The surviving consciousness continues not because it doesn't have a medium, not the body. The body here is thought. That is why they say blankness. To say you are blank, consciousness to be there to enliven the blankness. Blankness is also a thought. Think. 5 features of the body, consciousness with respect to body has to be applied to the thought also. See, how are we traveling? Existence as Satyam and Satyam Jnanam as Chit. Satyam Brahma we saw. This is Chit Brahma or Jnana Brahma. This, he says, consciousness continues with respect to every thought. He says, Chinta Rahitaha. 5th point, consciousness survives even without any thought it is requiring for manifestation. That is called as Chinta Rahitaha. Chinta means what? Don't think Chinta is worry. Chinta means consciousness. It is unconnected with every thought. Consciousness is unconnected with every thought. Think. If consciousness is also connected with thought, what happens? When thought goes, consciousness also will go. Tata Baba itara. In and through all the thought, consciousness is there. Even if it goes, it is there. It is there, sir. It is there as Sakshi Chaitanyam, as an awareness principle. No thought means consciousness alone is there. Don't talk like a Buddha and become a Buddhu, because Buddha is the person who became a Buddhu by talking that everything is void, Shunyam. That fellow Pavam did not know. That Shunyam is nothing but you are experiencing the Shunyam. So that Shunyam experiencer is the Chaitanyam, the Sakshi. See? This is one philosophy for him. What did he do in Shunyam? Anyways, this is fine. So, Satyam Brahma, Jnanam Brahma, over. So, Hridyesha Chinta Rahito Hrudhakya. Consciousness is not connected with the thought. Just as Sat is not connected with the Nama Rupa of the pen. Very careful. For pen to exist, Sat is required. But Sat is not dependent on the name and form of the pen. The name and form has to depend on the Sat. Similarly, consciousness as Chit should be there in and through all the thoughts. You have to write. Thoughts means extraordinary, mystical thoughts. Whatever thought you say, everything consciousness to pervade. Devata sakshatkara hoga. Hua. Night. Consciousness irbekali. Consciousness should be there. Anubhava ho gaya. Now come to third line. He says Ekam. Satyam over, Jnanam over. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Anantam has the name of Ekam here. Anantam is one. Ekam is one. Ekam one. If you think like this, naಮಗೆ ನಿದ್ದೆನೇ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ನಮಗೆ ಈ ತರ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ನಿದ್ದೆನೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಎನಿವೇಸ್, that existence principle which is pervading the object is called as sat. Remember, that existing principle which is pervading the object is called sat. That consciousness which is pervading every thought is called chit. Agreed? Sat and chit. When it is pervading every thought and every chit, it is called as non-dual. Non-dual. If it is associated with every thought, chit. If it is associated with every object, sat. Aita. So then, why do you might ask a question? Because night you don't ask. You might ask a question. If it is associated, why do you want to have two names? Isn't it? Why do you want to have two? Because the same thing is called as sat in objects, chit in vritti. Why do you want to have two names? For that we give a mischievous answer. Because when you, an ordinary jiva, can have multiple names, nickname, office one name, manel one name, husband ಮಾತ್ರ ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ನೇಮ್ ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಮನೇಲಿ ಕರೆಯೋದು ಮಾತ್ರ ಒಂದು, ರೂಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಒಂದು ನೇಮ್. ಮೆನಿ ನೇಮ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್. If that can have, if you ordinary jiva can have, this is a mischievous answer. Why can't Brahman, who is the all-pervading consciousness, have two answers? If it is associated with thought, it is consciousness. If it is associated with object, it is sat, existence. Then you might ask a counter question. What is the name when it is not associated? What is the name when it is not associated? All the time I'm telling only association. Then that time when it is not associated, we will not have any answer. That is the state of turiyam. The fourth state, chaturtham, turiyam chaturtham manyante, mandukya. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ ಮಾಂಡುಕ್ಯ ಅಂತ. It is a absolute silence. It is an absolute silence. Here silence, when I say don't sit closed eyes and don't go keep on going like this back, that is not the silence I mean. Silence with awareness, that is the silence I mean. When you do 20 to 30 bastrika, naturally your body should become tired and you'll go to silence. That is not I mean, with the awareness. When it is not associated, it is the silence, the absolute reality. Me myself, I don't have words. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. ಹೇಳಬಾರ್ದು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. Okay. It is not associated means silence. This ekam is called as anantam, isn't it? This ekam non-duality, when it is not associated, is called as one. This ekam as anantam, we have another name. He says ameyam. See there, ekam ameyam, just before that word. Katam smaramas tamameyam ekam, ameyam. This ameyam has another word. In Upanishad we have seen, in Kena also we saw aprameyam, aprameya, saprakasha, etc., etc. Manovachama gochara we have seen. Aprameyam is what? There is no prameyam. What is prameyam? There is no subject, object, kartru, pramata, prameya. Division is not there. In ekam, what division will you have? It is one. Ameyam, no division of triputis. Pramata, prameya, pramanam, not there. Divisionless. Ameyam. And this ameyam, katam smarami? Question mark. This non-dual consciousness existence, katham smarami, When should I invoke this consciousness principle? When should I meditate on this consciousness principle? If somebody asks like this, only a person who has not understood will keep quiet. A person who has understood will give one slap to the person who's telling, I have to meditate on consciousness principle. Katam smarami. It is when it is associated with an object, it is sat. When it is associated with every vritti, it is chit. When it is not associated with sat or chit, it is kevala chaitanya sakshirupaha. Where is the time or what is that we are doing to meditate? Or when should I worship? Katam smarami. Katam smaramastamame yamekam. Then what does this nididhya time agaito but salpa? What is this nididhyasanam shastras are talking about? What is this meditation this shastras are talking about? He says meditation on Brahman or nididhyasanam on Brahman is nothing but abiding in Brahman. Abiding in Brahman without objectification. Meditation or nididhyasanam on Brahman is nothing but abiding in Brahman without objectification. He says, Tasya smritihi. Tasya smritihi. Smritihi means remember. Tasya. What is that Tasya? That Brahman as Sat, Chit, Anandaha, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma, Aprameyam Brahma, abide without objectification. Tasya smritihi drudhaiva nishtha. Dhrudaha means firm abidance in Brahman. You might get a doubt. What do you mean by abidance in Brahman? Abidance in Brahman means abidance in the knowledge that I am Brahman. Abidance in the knowledge that I am Brahman, because I happens to be Satrupaha, Chitrupaha, Anandarupaha, Kimartham, Ekatvat, Ameyatvat, Aprameyatvat, Ekam. Satchit Anandarupa Ahamasmi. Abidance in Brahman means abidance in the knowledge that I am Brahman, which I need not objectify, which cannot be objectified, which should not be objectified. All possibilities solitaire. Cannot, should not, need not. Because I am Satchit Ananda Swarupaha. Then you might ask a question. In night, I know you don't ask. What do you mean by abidance in the knowledge of Brahman? See, how are we traveling? Abidance in the knowledge of Brahman. Abidance in Brahman to abidance in the knowledge of Brahman to. What do you mean by abidance in the knowledge of Brahman, if you ask? That means abidance means non-forgetfulness of this knowledge. Non-forgetfulness of this knowledge. Here where Aham Brahmasmi Vritti Jnanam comes into play. Abidance in the non-forgetfulness of this knowledge. In and through all the transaction, I should have this knowledge that I am the consciousness principle. In and through all the transactions, sacred, secular, whatever it is. Non-forgetfulness of the knowledge. If you ask, what is this non-forgetfulness of the knowledge? Then should I always repeat, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. What is your name? Aham Brahmasmi. Are you hungry? Aham Brahmasmi. When do you go to sleep? Not like that. Brahman, Sulavenda. Non-forgetfulness of this knowledge means it should be available at my disposal. This knowledge should be available when I need. That is the problem with all of us. I understand Vedanta, but it is not coming to my mind. It should be rightly available. When it is required, you should use this jnana. For example, let's take your let's take your name. You know who you are. If I have to call you a name, you know. But do you always call your name? I am Swami. I am Swami. It is there. The name is there with you. Whenever somebody asks, it immediately comes out. Spontaneously, it is there. This knowledge of Akandakara Aham Brahmasmi Jnanam should be so spontaneous as when somebody calls your name, this Vritti Jnanam also should be there. Think. It should be accessible in and through every knowledge. You need not tell it out. Whenever there is a disturbance in the mind, say that consciousness is not associated in any of the vrittis which I am experiencing. Who am I? I am the consciousness, but I am not the one who's experiencing the thought. I am the experiencer as Sakshi Chaitanya. This jnanam tasya smritihi tatra dridhaiva nishtha. A firm abidance in the knowledge of Aham Brahmasmi, non-forgetfulness of this knowledge should be easily accessible to me. This is called Aham Brahmasmi Vritti Jnanam. With this, first mangala shloka is over. Om Sahana Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.